Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, I have to tell you, I have seen a lot of things in my time watching the good folks in Port Charles, but the recent events surrounding Portia Robinson have truly left me scratching my head and sitting on the edge of my seat. Just when you think you have seen it all, life throws you a curveball that you never saw coming. Portia finally gave birth to a beautiful, bouncing baby boy. Now, bringing a new life into the world is always a miracle, a true blessing from above, but the circumstances surrounding this particular delivery were nothing short of a wild ride. Can you believe that Jordan Ashford, of all people, was the one who helped deliver that precious little child? It is funny how the universe works sometimes. After practically pushing Portia into labor with all the stress and tension between them, Jordan had to roll up her sleeves and play midwife. It is a situation that makes you realize truth really is stranger than fiction, and in a small town, you can never truly escape the people from your past. Let us take a step back and look at the sheer exhaustion Portia must have been feeling. Bless her heart, the poor woman had been carrying that baby since last August. Anyone who has ever been around an expectant mother knows that once you pass that due date, every single day feels like an absolute eternity. She was well past her time, uncomfortable, and likely just wanting the whole ordeal to be over so she could finally hold her child in her arms. And then, right when the baby decides it is time to make a grand entrance, absolute chaos ensues. Jordan did the right thing by calling for an ambulance, but as luck would have it, the paramedics either got completely turned around or lost somewhere out there on Route 98. It is one of those classic moments where anything that can go wrong absolutely does go wrong. Portia was left with no choice but to rely on Jordan, a woman she has every reason to keep at an arm's length. Now, I have heard some folks say that this shared experience of bringing a child into the world might be a major turning point for Jordan and Portia. They say that being in the trenches together during a medical emergency can forge a bond that washes away past sins. But if I am being completely honest with you, I just do not see it that way. I do not think Portia owes Jordan a single ounce of grace or forgiveness. Let us not forget the absolute mess Jordan made recently. She was out there running hot, spreading vicious and baseless rumors that Portia was somehow responsible for Curtis facing serious criminal and civil charges. You do not just sweep that kind of malicious gossip under the rug because you helped deliver a baby when the ambulance got lost. Portia's absolutely right to keep her guard up. Trust is something that takes years to build and only seconds to destroy. And Jordan took a sledgehammer to whatever fragile piece they might have had. And that brings us to the man at the center of so much of this heartache, Curtis Ashford. I have to speak my mind here because the way he has been acting lately is like a bull in a china shop, completely reckless and destructive. His unprovoked attack on Isaiah Gannon was downright shameful. What really gets my blood boiling is that Curtis has shown absolutely zero remorse for his violent actions. A real man owns up to his mistakes, but Curtis is digging his heels in. He is not sorry in the slightest, and worse yet, he is already plotting to attack Isaiah again, this time using the courtroom as his weapon of choice rather than his fists. It is a cold, calculated move that shows just how far he is willing to go to get his way, regardless of who gets hurt in the process. It makes you wonder what is truly going on in his head and heart these days. All of this simmering tension formed the backdrop for the moment we were all waiting for with bated breath, which was the reading of the DNA test results. You could practically cut the tension in the room with a knife. On one side, you had Isaiah, who was genuinely excited and hopeful about the prospect of being a father. He had his heart set on building a life and a family. On the other side, you had Curtis stirring the pot and causing endless trouble, as he always seems to do lately. When Portia finally held that piece of paper in her trembling hands and read the results aloud, confirming that Curtis was indeed the father, my heart just sank. Just like that, the wind was completely knocked out of the sails for anyone hoping for a peaceful resolution to this incredibly messy situation. The reactions to that news were as different as night and day. Curtis naturally was over the moon. He got exactly what he wanted, which is a permanent tie to Portia and a new son to carry on his name. Aunt Stella Henry was equally ecstatic, practically glowing with happiness at the thought of her family expanding. But The devastation on Isaiah's face was truly hard to watch. He had his hopes so high, only to have them dashed in an instant. And Portia, well, you could see the sheer dread wash over her. Having Curtis as the father means she is legally and emotionally tethered to this man for the next 18 years. That is nearly 2 decades of dealing with his unpredictability, his anger, and his constant interference in her life. For a woman who was just trying to find some peace and move forward, this news was nothing short of a life sentence. It is especially tragic when you consider just how deeply Portia had fallen for Isaiah. Their connection was something real and grounding. Before all this chaos erupted, she was practically living out at his cozy cabin in the woods. It was a safe haven for her, a place away from the noise and the drama of poor Charles. She found comfort in his steady presence, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of stress that Curtis always brought to the table. She stayed there right up until Curtis finally handed over the house to her. You can tell that her heart truly belongs to Isaiah, and she was dreaming of a quiet, happy future with him and the baby. To have that dream snatched away by a piece of paper from a laboratory is a bitter pill to swallow, and you cannot help but feel a deep sense of sympathy for her situation. To really understand the gravity of this situation, we have to look back at how Portia and Curtis's marriage fell apart in the first place. Their union was essentially over long before the paperwork was ever filed. Curtis had already checked out, emotionally cheating on Portia with Jordan. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he knew the damage it was causing. I will never forget that powerful moment when Portia laid it all on the line, giving him a strict ultimatum that if he walked out their front door, their marriage was officially over. It was a boundary born of exhaustion and a desperate need for respect. And what did Curtis do? He looked right at her, turned his back, and walked out that door. He made his choice loud and clear. He abandoned the marriage. But somehow, in the twisted logic of Curtis and Aunt Stella, they have convinced themselves that Portia is the one who is unfaithful. Let us talk about Aunt Stella for a minute, because she is a crucial piece of this complicated puzzle. Stella loves her nephew fiercely. There is no denying that. She protects him like a mother bear protecting her cub, but her perspective on this whole situation is incredibly skewed. In her mind, Portia is the villain who cheated on Curtis with Isaiah. Now, I completely disagree with that speculation. Portia's marriage was effectively dead the second Curtis walked out that door. But Stella cannot see it that way. She is holding on to this deep-seated resentment, and she is absolutely desperate for Curtis to have this baby. She wants to see Curtis and Portia patch things up to magically heal their broken marriage and act like a big, happy family again, completely ignoring the massive cracks in the foundation that can never be repaired. Furthermore, Stella has a long memory, and she has never truly forgotten or forgiven Portia for the secrets of the past. Stella knows all too well that Portia kept the truth about Trina Robinson's paternity hidden for years. She believes that Portia robbed Curtis of the chance to raise his daughter, a loss that Curtis felt very deeply. In Stella's mind, there is a massive debt that Portia owes to Curtis. She thinks Portia needs to pay him back for those lost years with Trina. So when this new baby came along, Stella likely saw it as the universe's way of balancing the scales. She firmly believes that her beloved Curtis deserves to be a father from day one this time around, and she clearly thinks that Isaiah, a man she views as an interloper, does not deserve that honor at all. In the end, this entire situation is a tangled web of hurt, pride, and unresolved history. We are watching a slow-motion train wreck, and all we can do is sit back and see how the pieces fall. Whether Stella actually switched those results or not, the damage is already done. Hearts are broken, lines are drawn in the sand, and a newborn baby is caught in the middle of a storm he did not create. I will be keeping a very close eye on Aunt Stella, watching her every move and listening to every word she says. Because in a town like this, the truth has a funny way of bubbling up to the surface when you least expect it. Until then, we will just have to keep guessing and hoping that somehow, some way, this little boy grows up surrounded by the love and honesty he truly deserves. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and I cannot wait to see what happens next.